Hi, my name is Jackie, and I've just returned to my home province of Alberta after 30 years of living and working in Europe. I'm back to support elderly parents and to reconnect with family and old friends all over the US and Canada. I'm a lifelong tent camper, campervanner, motorhomer, long-distance touring cyclist, and now I'm joining the swelling ranks of North American minivan lifers in my no-build Dodge Grand Caravan. I hope you'll join me on this challenging and adventurous new chapter as I rediscover the strange land that I left so many years ago. Lovely day here on the outskirts of Edmonton. I've found a nice quiet place in an industrial area. It's Sunday, nobody around. Last night it went down to -6, and then we had the snow the last couple of days and the slush and the sleet, and it prompted me to, before things get really ooky cold and I don't feel like crawling around under my car anymore, to go around and just verify the connections and fittings on my diesel heater. Make sure that I'm not leaking diesel anywhere. And I thought it's a good opportunity to catch you up on the things that you didn't see in my first video, because I've made quite a few changes since then. So let's start by just showing you my diesel heater. I wish I had videoed the installation. That would have been a lot more interesting for people. But yeah, I wasn't thinking about it at the time. So let's have a little look and see what I've done. Actually, before we get started, I should point out that I did this video in October, November, somewhere around there, and it's now the end of December. I've lived with my van in all climates, and I have an idea now of a more permanent build, so all this stuff is kind of temporary. Here we're looking at the back of the car. You can see I've just started taking things out and moving things around and reorganizing, as I need to add winter clothes and other winter equipment, and of course the extremely vital skates, because I do plan to go ice skating quite a bit this winter if I can manage it. So since my first video, I have added a 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. Yeah, it's one of the cheaper ones that you can get on Amazon or other sites. However, I found it barely used on Facebook Marketplace, so I got a pretty good deal on it. And then I just decided to temporarily wire it up to my diesel heater with alligator clamps. I've got the things that I need to make a more permanent and solid electrical connection. I just wanted to see how things worked out spatially. It's all working out okay, so yes, pretty shortly I'll be wiring it more professionally. I use that term very loosely. So under here you can see is my diesel heater. This is the space where that seat would normally fold into, but of course that's not going to happen anymore. So I've got this cavernous space down here. This is where the second row, or the third row two-seater was. I've actually completely removed that and turned it into storage. So it's mostly clothes down there, some extra pots and pans and dishes that I should really be getting rid of. Access is difficult because of course my bed is there, but it's good enough for things that I don't need a lot. That's fine. So the diesel heater, 5 kilowatt Chinese diesel heater. Of course it needs to be exhausted to the outside to be safe. So I did have to cut 2 holes into the bay area, which is a steel area, so and very thin, so it wasn't too hard to just use a basic drill and a metal hole saw to drill it in. And then I did have to faff and curse and fiddle to actually get everything to seat properly. It's siliconed in there, and it's also fastened down with a couple of self-tapping screws. I've mounted the pump to a piece of wood here at the right angle. So the pump needs to be mounted at I believe it's I think it's 15 to 30 or degrees. I can't remember, but it's at the correct angle to function properly. If you don't mount it at the correct angle, it doesn't self-lubricate properly, and then you run into problems in the future. Now, in an attempt to slightly dampen the ticking sound, and I know this is an exercise basically in futility, but I have wrapped it in some rubber batting and it is mounted on a rubber mount as well to the wood, so that's dampening the ticking a bit. But I mean, can you hear it? It's not too bad. Once this goes down and once I've got my other stuff on top of it, it's not too bad. The most important thing for me is that you can't really hear it from the outside. So, you know, you can hear the exhaust, but the exhaust is actually quite quiet. I mean, surprisingly quiet on lower speeds. So I'm not drawing too much attention to myself. So there's that, and you can see all of the wiring loom is there. I really do need to tidy that up one day because there's an excess of the hot wire and the ground is very, very short for some bizarre reason. So I do have to work on that. Anyway, let's go under here. So you can see under here I've got my fuel line. This is my fresh air intake, and this is the exhaust, which if you're not aware, gets incredibly hot. It would be wonderful to find a way to recuperate all that lost energy, and some people do that, install these things in their workshops and such by hooking it up to an old radiator. So yeah, there's cool things that you can do with these diesel heaters in off-grid situations. So I've kept my air intake and the filter here away from the exhaust. Not that they say that that's absolutely vital, but I feel better for it. So there's my little muffler, little condensation hole pointing downwards so that any condensation that builds up in the exhaust will drip out and not block the rest of the piping. So that's working pretty well for now, and it's a lot more stealthy hooked up behind my trailer hitch here than it was when I first hooked it up, and it was sticking out here somewhere. It made me look very conspicuous. And here is, of course, my diesel tank. So it's a 10-liter tank. I did a little bit of a gradient from where it was filled up to where I knew it was 2 liters, and then an extra 8. That's approximately 10 liters. So that's just helping me keep track of my usage as I start using this thing more regularly. I have not mounted it permanently. I've set it up by screwing it to a board that's jammed in and bungeed so that there's no holes that I've needed to fix into the plastic, which isn't going to hold anything anyways, let's face it. And it's been very, very secure. And when I show you how my water is set up, you'll see that nothing is going anywhere. If there's an accident, it is strapped down with a bungee. You can't really see it from here. And hopefully it won't be flying about causing a spillage. But of course, diesel is much less volatile and explosive than regular gasoline, so I'm not too concerned. So today, yeah, I was just checking my fittings, making sure that I've got everything nice and tight and nothing is bent or kinked or leaking, and it's all good. So I'll be putting this down now and setting everything back up. Alrighty tighty, put everything sort of back in place in its normal setup, and you can see that I've replaced all of those random 4-liter bottles of water with a lovely 18-liter bottle from Canadian Tire, refillable at the princely sum of $2.49 for 18 liters. Yay! And my perfectly fitting USB pump, very easy just to reach backwards to fill up my necessities with it. I love it. It's just fine. There is beauty in simplicity. And it also gives me room to stash a few more things, some cleaning supplies, laundry soap, all of that stuff, etc., without looking like a clutter clog. So, there's that. Coming over here, you can see that now that I've actually completely changed my setup since the first video. This is my little work closet, so for my pet sitting business. Everything that I need is there, easily accessible, very tidy, doesn't drive me crazy to have to hunt for things. I have purchased some high-density foam. I found some high-density foam quite cheaply, and I've added it to my very luxurious, self-inflating 4-inch foam mattress on the bottom, and now I'm the princess in the pea, crammed up against the headliner. Not great, but I slept a lot more comfortably. Last night was the first time I used this system, and I did sleep a lot more comfortably. That was the goal. However, it's still not perfect, but it gives me something to think about for the future. So yes, in order to have easy access to my food items in the winter, as I don't want to be running out back and forth, opening my door and letting all my precious and expensive diesel heated space get cold, I have had to make a compromise here. So I've moved my bed backwards, and I've moved whatever storage I had there forwards, and stacked it, and now I have a lovely set of tacky plastic cabinets. Very practical, giving me access to everything I need for my food. Bluetti has gone up there. It's tension ratcheted in. It's not going anywhere. So it's absolutely fine there and easily accessible. I kind of like it like that. The only thing I would really change at this point, oh hello, is I would really actually like to build in a cabinet here that's exclusively for cooking. Something that maybe has a little 5-volt fan that I can just sort of slightly open my door and vent out cooking smells and vapor. So I can just do some more sophisticated cooking in here. I'd really like to get an Instapot or something that I can make different kinds of meals. My idea is to, make 1 or 2 soups or stews a week, just to save some money and to eat more nutritiously. Here in Alberta, there is a Tim Hortons or a fast food of some kind, hideous, every couple of meters. And it's far too tempting when you're faffing about with this just to say, oh, bugger it, and get something to eat at the fast food. And because I eat plant-based, mostly plant-based or vegetarian, there's not a lot of options here anyway. So that's the next big project. Figure that out. So lastly, and very, very briefly, because I'm planning to do a separate video on this, I just want to talk a little bit about my DC to DC charger, my Bluetti Charger 1, which is allowing me to charge at a much, much higher voltage by converting the voltage that's coming out of my alternator through my battery and converting it to a higher voltage to charge this darn thing at a much higher rate. So I can charge it 5 times faster than what I could do with the 12-volt outlet, the accessory outlet that's in the van. And that was frying all my wiring anyway. So this is a fantastic item. Again, people use this word all the time on YouTube, but this time it's for real. It's a game changer. It allows me to eliminate the idea of solar panels. I can refill my power bank, which is connected to the charger for my lithium iron phosphate battery, and replace all of the energy that I used the day before, the night before, with a little bit of driving to and from my jobs, or just going and getting groceries, whatever, because my needs aren't that terribly high right now. But I can refill my entire power bank probably in about an hour. So yeah, I can refill my power bank very, very quickly. And again, just everything is inside the car, nice and hidden. As you can see, there's this, this is the breaker that turns the charger on and off. The charger is wired to my battery under the hood. I've pierced another hole in the grommet where my car wiring loom is, pulled the wires through, hooked everything up, and the charger itself is just in the little mesh pocket that's behind the chair here, and it's absolutely fine there. There's about 10 feet of wiring that's coiled underneath, but it's fine there, and nothing is going to disturb it. I love it. So you can see more about that if you're interested in a future video about my Bluetti DC to DC charger. I love it. Well, thanks for coming along on that ragtag little revisit of my No-Build Dodge Grand Caravan, which I do live in full time, and now for about 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, something like that, and in some pretty serious climates, as you can see. If this is the first time that you've joined me, please do check out the other videos on my channel. I'll post the links to follow.